question that I wanted to address today came from my original video asking for audience participation from user 01woof. Great username. This user has a question regarding Etsy. Most of the questions I got were regarding Etsy, so I'll be doing lots of Etsy questions in the next few videos. Their question was about how Etsy is changing. And when they think of Etsy, they think of them only selling homemade items, handmade items, stuff for stay at home moms, knitting, crochet, etc. Um, but then they started seeing a lot of vintage items. And they've also heard that Etsy is exploding and could potentially become the next eBay. Um, I think I understand where this question's coming from because there has been some stuff in the news and on the Etsy forums that Etsy is scheduled to announce very soon, probably in the next couple of months, that they're going to go public on the stock exchange. So, this is, of course, going to be a good amount of money for the people who created Etsy. Um, but the sellers are obviously concerned about how this is going to impact them and their businesses. I can completely understand that. Now, I don't know anything about what's going to happen. I'm just as clueless as the rest of you are. But most of the people I hear concerned about it are talking about, oh, it's all going to be about money and they're going to jack up the fees and it's going to be all about, keeping the shareholders happy. And they're really concerned that the place is going to stop having the warm, cozy feeling that I think Etsy originally had. I think Etsy still has that same feeling, but it is different from when I first started selling on Etsy. I've only been doing the reselling vintage stuff on Etsy since December or late November. But I was a handmade Etsy seller. I started selling in 2007 and I had a fairly successful time until 2010 when I decided to take a hiatus. And then I took like a 5 year hiatus because I didn't really want to get back into the handmade game. But I can see the differences on the site from when it was mostly about crafters and not so much about entrepreneurs, but really about people crafting and buying locally and sourcing things and recycling things and upcycling things and embellishing things and all this stuff. And you did see the changes go to all of a sudden some of these people are making, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars um, off of stuff that they've kind of stopped making themselves by hand because their business got so successful that they're outsourcing them and getting these things made in bulk. There's a lot of question about whether or not that is a handmade business. Um, when these prototypes may be handmade, but then you're having somebody else create your goods for you. Um, that's not really a conversation I want to get into. There's also a lot of talk about, or there's a lot of stuff that wasn't as prominent in 2007 and 2010 when I was originally selling. You could sell vintage and you could sell craft supplies. But then that took a dark turn too, where people were reselling craft supplies, and it wasn't necessarily like this bag of buttons that I got at Value Village. It was, this is a bunch of wholesale craft supplies that again are made overseas super, super cheap, and now you're paying premium prices and blah, blah, blah. So that is a question that the handmade Etsy sellers are constantly at odds with about should certain people and certain companies be allowed to sell on Etsy. Frankly, we should all be happy that we are able to sell on Etsy. And if things change, things are going to change, and we have to roll with those changes if we want to continue selling on the platform. For me personally, I love selling on Etsy. I am an Etsy champion. I will always stand up for Etsy when I see people bashing it. Um, you know, there's a lot of folks out there that have tried Etsy, and when I say try Etsy, they put three things in a shop and then none of those three things sell, and they blame it on Etsy. So if you've not taken the time to build your business and promote your business and use the site to its fullest extent, that's on you. That's not on Etsy. I love Etsy because I find the quality of customer that is purchasing from me is a higher quality of customer. They are looking for vintage items if I'm selling vintage items. They are interested in something of quality, so they're willing to pay more. Very rarely do I ever get people messaging me asking me to reduce the price on something. Etsy itself has low fees, very low fees, very low fees compared to eBay. They've made some changes to the website. Things are going to change. When the company goes public, things are going to change. I don't know what those changes are going to be. I'm just going to be just as surprised as you are, but I love Etsy. I will continue to champion Etsy, and I always encourage people to give Etsy a try and to use all of the resources that Etsy has for you. So I'll talk more about Etsy in future videos. Like I said, almost all the questions I got were all about Etsy, and I want to take away the mystery of Etsy to the best of my ability so that other people feel comfortable using the site. This video has gotten really long again. Thank you so much for watching. Please, if you have questions for me, leave questions down below and I will do my best to answer them in future videos. I do have a little backlog now of questions that I need to answer, and I will try to do a couple videos each week to answer those questions. I really love this audience participation thing. It's been a lot of fun, so I'm happy to keep that going. So thanks again to everybody who gave me advice and encouragement about getting out of my moody moods. And I really hope sales do pick up, not just for me, but for you guys too. And if you haven't tried Etsy, give it a shot, learn more about it, and I'm happy to help you learn along the way. So thanks again for watching. Have a good one. Bye.